Was returning in that first game, and do you feel like you felt perfectly fine right away, or do you feel like you'll need more time to keep working back into things?
I mean, I felt pretty good physically. I think also, like, just reflecting back on the game, I think there's still a lot of different things that I could have done better personally, and we could have done better as a group too. And I think that's kind of how Steph challenged us when we came here yesterday and got ready to practice. There's, still so many areas for us to grow, I think, especially defensively. And also offensively too. Obviously we had a really good day shooting the ball, but it's not going to be like that every single night. So I think me personally still felt really good, but it's going to be continue to stack those games and be consistent in it.
Hi, Caitlyn. Your sneakers with that adorable picture of your dog Bella on the insoles. Yeah. Can you just explain how did that idea came about?
Yeah. Honestly, Nike asked me kind of what I want to do with some of the Kobe's that I wear throughout the season, and my dog is really important to me. It's my childhood dog that I grew up with. So the shoe was basically all golden, and then obviously the tongue of the shoe was pink for a golden retriever or any dog really. But and then on the sock liner of my shoe was a picture of my dog. A lot of my teammates thought it was some random graphic I found on the internet, but it was actually my dog. But yeah, they were cute, and it kind of makes it fun when they're a little more personal to you, and it makes it fun to get to put them on and go out and play in them.
Hi, Caitlyn. Steph today was talking about how this whole experience has been a good opportunity for you to learn how to recover and do activation as a pro. So I was just curious whether or not it was coming back from the injury or now that you're just trying to stay on top of things. What have you learned about what that recovery looks like for you and just how to take care of your body?
Yeah, I mean, I've never really been in this position before, so it's a lot of learning for sure. I think just, going forward, trying to be proactive as I can and, not let anything pop up. And even if I feel great, still going in and getting treatment is really important. I think that's the best thing that I can do. And, there's going to be little things that pop up throughout the season. And, that's just how it is being a pro, but it's your job to take care of yourself. And, I've tried a lot of different things that recovery-wise, and you kind of find what works for you. Everybody's going to be a little bit different, and then just stay consistent in that. And you look at our schedule coming up, and it gets pretty gruesome pretty fast. It's basically game practice for about 3 weeks straight, and really honestly till All-Star we have a heck of a schedule. So it's going to be really important for myself to continue to stay healthy, and because I know my team needs me. So I think more than anything is just be proactive now that I am starting to feel a lot better. I mean, I've tried just about everything. There's needling, there's hot tubbing, there's massages, there's hyperbaric chamber. I think, mixing it up also and using a bunch of different things. Half the time I don't even really know what the trainer's using, but it works. So, I kind of just trust them and lean on them, and, whatever we find works for me, we continue to be consistent in that. And like I said, just be proactive and get ahead of things rather than just letting things linger.
Hi, Caitlyn.
Hello.
Alessandro Mamoli from Sky Sport Italy. I know that you have Italian roots from your mom's side.
Yeah, my mom's side,
yeah. I'm wondering, what do you know about, I don't know, where she's from or she's family is from, something like that?
Oh, they're going to be so...
If you do know.
My grandfather's actually coming tonight, so you can go talk to him. I think northern Italy, but actually I was just talking with some of my teammates about this. I was like, I didn't really get much of the Italian genes, but if you look at my two brothers, they have more darker complexion. They have the very thick, curly brown hair. I didn't really get that. I got my other grandmother from England, so but yeah, I mean, I certainly have Italian roots. My great-grandfather owned a pub on the south side of Des Moines, and there's a couple pictures that my mom has and my grandfather and my grandma have, and he's just like a big old Italian man, made hamburgers. He was just, who knows what else he really did, but he was just a good guy. But yeah, Italian is also my favorite food. I've been lucky enough to go to Italy before, but northern Italy, I'm pretty sure, but you can go ask my grandfather. He'll probably give you the rundown.
Where he is.
Okay, I think we're close to behind the bench, so look in that area.
Hi, Caitlyn. Apologies if you've been asked this ad nauseum, but at least at one point during your recovery, I was watching the Washington Mystics game. You had a sheet of paper, and I was wondering if you were taking notes, if that was a score sheet, what was on that paper. And besides learning how to like recover your body, did you learn something about the team while you were just watching?
Yeah, I mean, I was mostly tracking like offensive possessions for us and, you know, whether we scored or whether it was an empty possession, whether that's a turnover, whether it's a bad shot, whatever that is. And I think as a point guard, it gave me an opportunity to learn. And obviously I was aware of this before, but I think sitting on the bench gives you a different perspective of the sequence of a game is really important. You know, for example, even though I made 3 threes in a row early in that first quarter this past Saturday, like I come down and I shoot another one when we probably could have got a 2 for 1, maybe 3 seconds prior, and then I come back down and I'm not aware of the clock and I turn the ball over. So it's just those little things that you watch that you have to be aware of like sequence-wise, and you know, you don't want a turnover and then you come back down the next possession, another turnover, a bad shot. You got to be able to, as a point guard, be able to process and understand what happened prior, and you know, the next possession, know you need to help your team get a really good shot or things like that. So I think that's the biggest thing. It kind of helped me process from the sideline is you can really just digest the game in a different manner. Obviously, when you're on the court, it's so fast and there's so many different things I'm trying to read. I'm trying to read my post player. I'm trying to read the defense, all of that. But from the side, I think you can really understand how the game flows and what your team really needs in that moment.
What do you feel like this team needs? And what I mean by that, too, is you go on a road trip. In what ways can that be beneficial, even maybe just because of the newcomers and so many of you been in and out of the lineup?
Yeah, I mean, there's no excuses for, you know, how it started. You know, obviously we would have loved to be healthier. We would have loved to maybe play a little better in certain games, but also I think that's like an opportunity for us to really grow and learn a lot about this group. And you know, I think at the end of the year, we're going to really look back on the beginning of the season and be really thankful for it. And, you know, it's going to show us a lot of areas where we can grow and how we could get better, and also things that we did well and will continue to do. But I think this, you know, 3-game road trip after this game is going to be really important for us. And I think it honestly starts tonight. We need to come out here and have a dominant performance and play really well. You know, these are the kind of games where you play really well and beat one of the top teams in the league, and then you play a couple days later and you can kind of have a letdown. So you have to come out and continue to have the same energy that we had on Saturday, and then take that into the road trip and hopefully just find some consistency, especially in the way we rotate and sub players and just being able to keep everybody healthy. Obviously, there's only so much of that you can control, but I think that'll be really important for us, and just find some consistency overall, offensively and defensively. Little things, we've kind of just shot ourselves in the leg consistently doing that. We turn the ball over, we foul a lot. You know, those are just easy points for them. I don't know how many points they had at the free throw line tonight, but I think they had 18 off of our turnovers, and that mostly falls on me. That falls on me as our point guard. I think I have to really get us into stuff, especially in the fourth quarter. We didn't do a good job of taking care of the ball. I didn't. So I think just starts with me and just getting better in that. And I feel like we're really close to being really good, and I think that's what's kind of been frustrating about these few losses. And I think for us today, I think this is much different than the Golden State loss. I think Golden State, we just got straight up outplayed and, you know, out-hustled. Tonight we did things really well for a good portion of the game. I thought we executed in our scout in the ways that we wanted to, and, you know, down the stretch, we just really couldn't find a way to get it done.
What was the challenge of getting any kind of offensive flow today? Both teams seem to have a tough time.
Yeah. I mean, I thought we executed really well in the first half. I thought we did a tremendous job of, like, making them pick and choose out of the ball screen. If they're going to play drop, like, you know, AB's going to have a field day, and that's exactly what she did. She was able to get, you know, just naked rolls to the rim and be able to finish, and then they made an adjustment in the second half and kind of clogged it a little bit more, and we weren't quite able to get exactly what we wanted there. I thought at times we could have played a little bit faster, and I think that's on me, like, not conceding in that. We still got to play up tempo. We still got to play fast. But I mean, I thought for the most part we did a lot of stuff that coach wanted us to do, and you know, that wasn't why we lost.
Caitlyn, I believe you're 1-17 from 3 over the past 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling off at all from 3 or anything?
No, I mean, there's going to be stretches that are really good, and there's going to be stretches that aren't as good, and obviously it's frustrating. You want them to go in, and even tonight I felt like there was a few that like felt really good off my hand, and it just didn't go down. And you know, even the mid-range jump shot to start the fourth quarter and the 3 to start the fourth quarter, like they both felt good off my hand. So it's just like, it's just frustrating. And I think for the challenge for myself going forward is just, continue to pour into every other aspect of the game, and I can continue to have an impact in, all those other areas. I thought I got to the rim well. It was just, certainly a tough shooting night, and, I got to find a way to continue to shoot and remain confident in myself, because I know I put the time in. But for me, I don't feel like it's, anything that's off necessarily. But, it'd be nice if they went down.
Aaliyah, you guys are on game 2 of this road trip. You guys have a lot of games coming up with a little rest in between. What's the focus right now for this group in terms of stuff off the court as well and trying to get momentum?
Yeah, just making sure that we're taking care of our body, taking care of each other. And then for us, our focus is Seattle. We can't look too far ahead because Seattle is right around the corner. So just making sure that we look at this game, what Seattle does, how we want to play, make sure we are just prepared, because obviously they're a good team, and so we have to make sure that we're ready for that.
Caitlyn, I know you see this everywhere you go, but how do you feel when you walk into a opposing arena and you see all these young girls and young boys wearing your jersey, with signs for you and stuff? I mean, how does it, as a person, how does that make you feel to see that away from home?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously really, really appreciate it. Like, a lot of people spend a lot of time and money to be able to see us play just one time. So that's never something that gets old, and I think it's always a good reminder for myself if, I have a tough day like today or, whenever. It's just like there's so many people that are there supporting you and love watching you play basketball. And at the end of the day, that's why you do it, because you can inspire a lot of young girls. So just really thankful for those people that continue to show up and support our team and, love on my teammates. So it certainly isn't something that ever gets old.
At what point, this question's for each of you, at what point, the two-woman game between the two of you was like working amazing in the first half, and later on in the third, at what point do you know, like, this is going to work?
When do we know?
When we
I
watched
think
film.
Yeah.
We know
So we
gonna
scout.
work.
Yeah.
What do you think what was the game plan against her to kind of slow her down?
Well, like I said pregame, it was just to try to make everything as difficult as possible. Like, Asia's one of the best players in the world. You're not going to stop her. So we just needed to make it difficult, and I thought AB did. But Asia did what great players do, and they step up in the fourth quarter, and that's what she did.
Caitlyn's 1 of 17 from 3 over the past 2 games. Just what have you said to her, what she kind of said about keeping that confidence in this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is what we have to do as a staff to get her better looks, like higher quality looks. Every game plan is going to be to make her score inside the three-point line, right? And the different ways that they're going to do that. Physicality, coverage, showing bodies, all the different things. And, we have to do a better job of getting her higher quality looks. I'm not worried about Caitlyn's shot. Caitlyn's shot is going to be just fine. The thing I'm worried about is our 18 turnovers for 28 points.
Last 2 games, you guys have been leading going into half the fourth quarter, not 16 points. Just what stands out to you about the last final minutes of the first?
Yeah, I felt like everything we did was a lack of discipline in some way, shape, or form. Turnovers, fouls, missed rotations on the defensive end of the floor, giving up timely offensive rebounds, things like that. It's all things that are correctable. And I think the challenge for us as, when you think about, our big three and how young they are, together especially, the challenge is you got to shorten those moments, right? It can't be 5-6 possessions in a row. We call a timeout when it's 5-0. We come out, we execute, and then I think they go on like another 6-0 run. Like, you got to be able to, in those moments, problem solve, and you got to be able to nip it. I mean, great team. Basketball is a game of runs, but we have to shorten the opponents, and we have to lengthen ours. And sometimes it's as simple as just being a little bit more patient and disciplined.
Stephen talked about to piggyback off that, Golden State days. Did it feel like there were some similarities considering Natalie's approach today to Becky's and what you were seeing out there and trying to make adjustments on the fly? Did it seem something similar like we just saw in the system?
I don't know if it just as far as the system, just because the personnel is so different. I think more than anything, when you saw the way that Jackie gets downhill, right, that she attacks the rim, when you saw where Asia started getting the ball as opposed to where she got the ball early in the ball game, how intentional they were at making sure they got it in those possessions. Chelsea, who always hits the timely big ones. I mean, they're championship pedigree. And in those moments, they step up and make the big plays. And so I think more than anything, you know, this game did not feel the same as Golden State. I think we still grew in ways, but you know, at the end of the day, we've got to find ways to win ball games.
You mentioned, obviously, they're good games, but Aaliyah and I put in
Yep.
some work. And even Dana and Tiff, it's not on the stat sheet, but the minutes that they provide, you talk about their bench, how key it is.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and I feel like they always do a really good job of having the players that come off the bench that fill the gaps, right? That fill the holes. And, you know, Aaliyah Nye, who we know is a knockdown shooter, made some big ones. You know, Dana gives Chelsea a spell, right? She comes in and she's different. With her speed and her quickness and her ability to get downhill. And obviously Tiff comes in and makes an impact, gets to the free throw line, has a couple of rebounds. I mean, positive plus minus by everybody from the bench. And it takes everybody.
Edie didn't play today. Was that just trying to get returners assimilated before Edie?
No, it was more of a matchup thing. You know, it was more of a matchup. I like Bree Turner's length and defensive ability. On Asia, or when we had to get into some switches, you know, and it's always kind of a tough decision sometimes with the offense that Edie can give us with this matchup. And sometimes it is as simple as just it's matchup driven.
Caitlyn Clark stepped back onto the hardwood with a point to prove. After a quad injury paused her early momentum, her return was timed perfectly, right before two high-stakes matchups. The Indiana Fever faced the Connecticut Sun and the Las Vegas Aces in just one demanding week, and what followed? Well, a tale of fire and fight. June 17, 2025. Indiana Fever versus Connecticut Sun. Clark entered the pregame tunnel focused. Her brief remarks to the media clearly reflected readiness. That said, she knew the Sun were aggressive, and she had prepared for it. The Fever had dropped multiple games earlier in the month, and there was hardly any margin for hesitation. Once the game began, physicality escalated quickly. Early in the first half, Clark was shoved to the floor during a contested rebound. Tensions boiled over, officials issued multiple technicals, and Fever players gathered around their rookie star. That moment could have rattled anyone. Clark instead picked up her tempo. She drained threes, drove hard through contact, and racked up assists precisely. She ended the night with 20 points, 6 assists, and 1 statement win. The Fever dominated the second half and closed out a strong 88-71 victory. Beyond the numbers, Clark's control of momentum stood out. Whenever Connecticut threatened to cut into the lead, she slowed things down, redirected the ball, or pulled up for a jumper. Coach Stephanie White applauded her postgame. Her return added rhythm and clarity to the Fever's offense. Clark's teammates also rallied behind her, especially after the rough contact. A physical contest turned into a culture-defining win. The next match was on June 22, 2025. Indiana Fever versus Las Vegas Aces. The tone changes here a bit. The Aces came prepared. From the opening tip, their defenders blanketed Clark. She struggled to get clean looks, and her three-point attempts didn't work. Eventually, mid-range floaters rimmed out. However, despite the challenges, Clark was pretty high on energy. She continued running plays and looking for teammates in better positions. Though her own stat line dropped, she finished with a low field goal percentage and several turnovers. The Fever stayed in striking distance until late in the fourth. A few rushed possessions allowed the Aces to extend the lead. The final score read 89-81. After the game, Clark and Stephanie White addressed the media. There was no sugarcoating. Clark admitted the performance was not up to the mark. Coach White added nuance and acknowledged the difficulty of facing a top-tier defense just days after an intense return. White spoke about pace control, half-court execution, and spacing issues. Indeed, the post-game room carried disappointment, but not defeat. Clark spoke clearly about her struggles, which showed awareness. She analyzed spacing errors, noted forced shots, and openly discussed what adjustments could improve the team's performance moving forward. Beyond the stat sheets and scorelines, this week exposed critical layers of Clark's development. Her resilience was tested twice. Once through physical confrontation, and once through technical resistance. In both cases, she showed intent. Coach White, in her comments, noted that Caitlyn's value stretched beyond her scoring average. Her presence on the court shifted defensive focus, creating better angles for others. Teammates appreciated that energy. During the Sun game, the Fever bench erupted after each Clark bucket. During the Aces matchup, they echoed her urgency even during missed chances. These build identity and trust. In 6 days, Caitlyn Clark delivered 2 very different games. Analysts believe she is here to compete, adapt, and lead. Her return against Connecticut showed scoring instinct and emotional control, while her effort against Las Vegas exposed the steep climb ahead when facing playoff-caliber teams. Both experiences may shape the next stage of her season. The Indiana Fever has one major positive now. Their rookie is willing to carry weight. What happens next? Stay tuned and subscribe. The answer will come soon.